Gomez Law is making a huge impact in the community. How do you feel about that? Doing a really great
How do
thing.
we make this big impact on the community?
We're helping. We're advocating for the people literally that are losing their homes.
Yeah.
Keeping people in
Well,
their homes.
yeah. So I guess, what I'm super happy about is that we are able to help a lot of people with their legal issues.
Yeah.
That was kind of the point of the law firm, right? Was to be able to help more than just I could help by myself as one lawyer. And so by training other, young law clerks, junior attorneys on how I do things, how Jim and Susan or other senior attorneys do things, that really allows us to take on a lot more cases, and even some cases that maybe if it was just us, we'd be like, sorry, we don't have the time for that. We don't have the capacity. But with large team that we have, we can take on some of these other cases that requires some more legal research and so yeah, it's great. We can help out a lot of people.
I know. I love that. It's great. It's a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
sleep good at night.
you do.
Sure.
Someone had to motivate you or inspire you. Like, where did this all begin?
Yeah. So, I mean, the easy answer is my dad.
Nice.
My dad's a lawyer.
Papa.
Papa, grandpops, who just turned into a grandfather recently with my kid.
Yeah.
And then my mom. So they both grew up in like this. Let's help out the people. Let's go ahead and my dad marched with Cesar Chavez.
Stop it.
Yeah. And so they were all. And it was a thing, right?
Like
they
side
both
by
went
side?
to UC schools.
Cool.
And they wanted to give back to the community. So my mom's a high school teacher in the basically the same neighborhood she grew up in. And my dad was like, I want to, help regular, normal people. I don't want to work for a big law. And so seeing that growing up, we talked about it at the dinner table. These are topics that we would talk about. And I was like, okay, I want to do. It's also kind of messed up, but it's like, if he could do it, I could do it.
You make it look easy.
Yeah. Really, Pops? You can do this thing? I could be a lawyer too. I could figure it out. No, but he's great. And so he was a big motivation. And just like politically, we're kind of like a political family or whatever, talking about it growing up. So I feel like a lot of, civil rights. I mean, civil rights has been a massive change and improvement in our country. So, and that was spearheaded by lawyers. You had to go to law, you had to go to court, go to the Supreme Court to change a lot of these issues and these, and to give a lot of equal rights and what does that look like? So
exactly.
That was very cool to read about and be like, lawyers did that.
So back to what you were saying, now you are where you are. You can look back and reflect. Opening a firm, I'm sure, wasn't easy. I would love to hear some of the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them.
Yeah. So the intention in the beginning wasn't to start and run my own law firm. I did want to be part of a law firm and be part of the leadership team and making decisions, because I still early on understood I wanted to help regular people with their regular kind of problems.
Yeah.
And that I had some idea of what that firm might look like, with paralegals specializing in different areas, so kind of niche with different departments. And I fell into the opportunity of having my own law firm. So that was, I said, okay, maybe I'm not ready for this,
but this is a sign.
But this is a sign, right?
I gotta go with
like
it.
You get an opportunity, you got to go through it, whether you feel ready for it or not.
Yeah.
So I can't go into too much specifics with former business partners, but I will say that was a big challenge, right?
Yeah.
Partnering up with someone and having that kind of relationship and distribution of work and responsibilities is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
So that only made it more complicated to navigate.
But I think that's also good too. You got to experience those things, those moments of making mistakes or not doing things the right way, because then you get to really learn from that. I feel like people who do things the right way don't really take off as far because they're so safe.
Yeah.
So I love making mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I know what that looks like now, right? I know,
Yeah.
okay, I don't have to wonder,
Yeah.
I can explain it to someone that in the future, I do want to
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
partners, it may
Mhm.
not be equity or what have you, but I kind of have a framework
Yeah.
of what that would be like a better version of in the future.
Mhm.
So it was valuable. And so yeah, that was a big challenge. And then figuring out like learning marketing, learning how to manage people, you know. At the first, when I first started, it was like, why aren't you doing it like me? What's
Yeah.
wrong with
Everybody
you?
needs to be like
What's wrong with
me.
you? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to delegate this. I'll do it quicker. So you got to like learn all of those things. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. People are going to make mistakes, and if anything, you want people to make mistakes in a safe environment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Before clients are
Mhm.
hurt,
Mhm.
before people are hurt.
Yeah.
You want them to make those mistakes with that safety net. So it was like, okay, it's okay to do these
Perfect.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here you are right now. You've built your firm. You've learned from everything that's happened, and now you're thriving. So, what are the key elements to your success now? What core values?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What does it
Mm-hmm.
look like?
Um, it's kind of like I've rearranged more to you can't cut around working hard. So I think maybe before I wanted to rush things. It's like, okay, here's how the numbers look. Here's how I get to these numbers. Here's what we need to do. Let's just do it. And so now it's like, what? There's a lot of value and self confidence, and both as a business
Mm-hmm.
person
Mm-hmm.
and as an individual, in kind of doing the little things
Mm-hmm.
and putting in the time and the work, for doing those things. It's like, okay, I don't have to be doing, let's say, reviewing a demand letter or sending that out, but doing it myself and showing other people how to do it, I see a lot more value now than I did, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's good. It's mentorship.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It pays back
Yeah.
tenfold.
Yeah. So there's a lot more like patience and building up that next
Mm-hmm.
generation of young
Mm-hmm.
lawyers
Mm-hmm.
and young team members. It's not just here's the operations, here's how you should do it, go do it.
Yeah.
It's more like, here it is.
Here's how to be a
Now
lawyer.
I'm available, right? I'm going
Yeah.
to take an extra 45 minutes to kind of explain the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of millennials and Gen Zers, like, don't tell me what to do. Tell me why I'm doing
You're
it.
right, right. The
And
purpose and
so that's
intention.
that's different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. We understand. We're millennials. Thank you for sharing that part. I love hearing how you establish yourself and grown to be the person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to dive in because I have so many questions as a person that's interested in real estate. And I'm sure there's like a million people here in LA that have the same questions. And one of them is, coming into real estate, a person that really doesn't know anything, but we see all these influencers and everybody talking about like real estate is the next way to
Mm-hmm.
financial freedom and wealth. What are some of the legal things that you will have to deal with as just the common person entering the real estate market in LA?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we all know about the 2008, 2009, mortgage meltdown, and how that just decimated
Yeah.
the real estate market. It was a good thing on one end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because prices and everything had gone so crazy. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's very aware of like these cycles that naturally we go through. um, and it's healthy. These are
Yeah.
healthy cycles. Now,
Right.
it was an extreme version when we had the mortgage meltdown, but everybody should expect prices to go up and then prices come
Mm-hmm.
down, and you have to plan that. If you're an investor, you have to act like that's going to happen. And
Right.
if it doesn't happen, great. You
Yeah.
get all this huge equity. As far as the changes for like normal people and buying their first property, the big thing that I've seen is just more people being targeted to be taken advantage of, right, during that process, whether it's by a real estate agent who's acting negligently, who's not
Mm-hmm.
really representing their best interests,
Mm-hmm.
breaching their fiduciary duties. You have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who learned a lot about real estate because it was so lucrative in 2007,
Yeah.
2008, and now it's tighter, right? There's less homes for sale. there's less opportunities for those same amount of people with all these skill
Right.
sets. And now you see them kind of getting a little bit more desperate, right, to apply that skill set to make a living.
Yep.
So you see a lot more fraud, a lot more misrepresentations. You see family members who know a little bit, and then they're having other family members signing deeds or signing loans, and so it's just
or scamming
it's
their own
very,
family.
very widespread. Like I don't believe it's ever been as the activity in fraud and financial elder abuse has ever been this high.
Right. Yeah. I've noticed.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the 2008 era, unforgettable, because I was I think 19, 20 around that time, and it impacted me. I know, right? I'm young, but that impacted me personally. Like with my mom, she fell into like a subprime loan. It was a hot mess. But with that, seeing the trends, how do you feel, or what do you think the market has changed over the years, like to where we are today, and how does that impact
well, I mean,
aspects?
specifically with Los Angeles market, I feel like owning a home is now like a luxury, and so it's very weird and different. Even neighborhoods like Inglewood and East LA, where these have been like historically neighborhoods where working class people can go in and own a home. Doing that is now very difficult, and so I think home ownership is highly recommended if you can afford it. But I would tell people, again, prepare for the worst, right? If you're relying on that job that's kind of new or what have you to pay for this new mortgage, it might not be a good situation. Because a lot of our clients, when we first started, fell into foreclosure because they got sick. A family member got sick, and now they had to pay extra expenses, and now they're in foreclosure, and they're spending every single dollar they have to try to keep this home. And so now it's become a big liability, a big point of stress. So I would really advise, whatever you can qualify for, try to purchase less, right? Have that fallback plan. Make sure you have plenty in savings. If you can, go in with family, right, to go and buy a home.
Be careful.
But have that in writing. What is the understanding, right? If you're going to go in with your parents to buy a property, if you're going to go in with a sibling to buy a property, it is smart, and that is an easy way that a lot of minorities or people new to the U.S. can get their start of the American dream, is by going into a property together. But have that in writing, right? Talk to a lawyer, and make sure that everybody understands kind of what it looks like if there's a falling out.
Exactly. Yep. Everything, paper trail, everything. I want to get into education. For the common person. What are some legal terms and jargon that are commonly used in real estate transactions, and what do they mean?
In real estate transactions, so I mean, it's when you're buying a home, right? You have your agent, you have the listing agent. They're both, and you have the broker. So just understanding like who's responsible to who. What does arbitration mean? What does escrow mean? Okay, here's a good one. Like for sale by owner, right?
Yep.
What does that mean? It means you're selling by your own without a real estate agent. Or seller financing. Recently had a potential client come in who was selling her home for sale by owner, and then it was seller financing. So she thought when the deal closed, she was going to get all of the money. But it was like, no, you agreed per the contract that they were going to pay you per month, and that you were going to finance, right, the sale. And so she had no idea what seller financing meant.
That's awful.
She just signed. And so, unfortunately, it's like, again,
wait, was that
an example of when to have a lawyer, right?
Yeah. Did she have an agent?
She didn't have an agent. She didn't have a lawyer. The other person had an agent, although they weren't part of the contract. But that agent was the one explaining to this person, it's okay, sign.
Right.
It's basically a contract to sell for this price.
Because she's like looking out for her client.
And at the end, you will get the money. But like when she would get the money was kind of,
God, that sucks.
yeah, glossed over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What potential legal pitfalls and complications in real estate or at least in the transactions, can people face? Like, I know that was one of them, but even the smallest things that can be like overlooked. I mean, one thing could be off the top of my head is contingencies.
Okay, so for real estate transactions, yeah. Contingencies, what do they mean? What are they, right?
Like, what are you signing off on?
Yeah, so a contingency is when you're a buyer,
Mm-hmm.
that if you have the right to back out of a deal and get your money back, your deposit back, if you haven't waived a contingency yet.
Yeah.
So what most people would look at the contract and say, oh, I have 17 days, right, that I have this contingency. Well, you kind of have it forever until you waive it. So you have to sign a document that says, I waive my contingency on the loan.
Yeah.
So I do have this case I'm working on where the client unfortunately waived her loan contingency without having anything in writing from the broker, the mortgage broker, and a mortgage broker, right, being the person that gets the loan for you to buy a home, without having anything in writing from that mortgage broker saying, yes, you are definitely going to qualify for this loan. Go ahead and waive the contingency. So the agent was pushing for her to like, it's okay, sign it. I talked to the broker, it's all set. Well, what the broker meant by it's all set is like, we're working on it. so not the same thing at all. We're working on it, like still evaluating. And so she lost, her deposit, which like for her was a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It's
Some
hard
people
earned.
take a lot of time,
especially out here in this market in LA,
to save their deposit. So what I would say is get everything in writing, right? The other one is the inspection, the property inspection,
appraisal,
contingency. And so if you haven't walked the property, if you haven't had property inspection done, and again, I would recommend that property inspection be done by someone you hire, not that's recommended right by the seller or recommended by the seller's agent, whether that agent represents you and the other side. But get your own property inspector. They either were referred to you or they got great reviews, right? Something that they're credible. And then only after you're totally positive, like, okay, I've addressed all of the repair issues, then waive that contingency. But
for sure.
I mean, again, kind of,
but that's why you should have a lawyer.
Yeah.
A real estate attorney on top of having
I hate to repeat
an agent.
myself.
Get an agent and then get a lawyer.
I don't want to repeat myself, but the answer is kind of going to be
get a lawyer.
Get a lawyer like 90% of the time.
Especially if your property is over $1 million. Get a lawyer. Just to review
it's
the
all
contract.
Relative, but hiring us to review some of these issues is very, very minimal compared to hiring us after the fact.
Oh, and it's
going to be at least 10 times the price for us to fix a problem and fix a mistake than it is for us to tell you, oh yeah, don't sign that, right?
Exactly.
I could tell you over the phone or in a free consultation.
Really.
Like a lot of these
save you.
Yeah, a lot of these life-saving kind of advice.
Right.
I will just tell you for free.
Yeah.
Just
we'll review your contract for you. Agents don't go to contract school. A slice of cheese can be a real estate agent. Cut that out. Cut that out. Anyone can be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Anyone. And so there's maybe a 2-page overview of what the contract is about, but
Correct.
They don't. They're just like, sometimes you're guessing. Sometimes agents just guess, and they're with confidence will tell their client, yeah, this is great, go ahead and sign it, I got you. And the client may not speak very good English, or maybe they don't really understand how to read.
Correct.
Contracts are complicated and intimidating, and so you trust your agent, but that's when you get caught up.
And so you have to think about it, practically speaking, the real estate agent is heavily incentivized for you to buy or sell a home. That's when they get paid.
They want that check. That
when you hire a lawyer, we're not getting paid
Yeah.
from when you buy or sell. We're just getting paid for the time we spend, and hopefully, you know, at the end of us giving the advice that you need, you go and tell your friends or family, and you hire us later. Yeah. That's our incentive, is that you come back to us.
Exactly. Man. Okay. I have a good question. where do you see the future of real estate law 10 years from now? We got new technology, we've got new laws, we've got all kinds of stuff going on. We got a weird change happening in the market. Like,
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
see?
Well, so for transactional law, I really hope that we get away from the whole dual agency thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a real big opportunity um, for for the state of California to kind of kick in and say, listen, you guys, that's not really
It
legal.
doesn't
Or
work.
if you are going to
Yeah.
do it, here are the step-by-step
Mm-hmm.
requirements, right?
Yep.
There's no kind of guidelines. It's like just tread with caution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of poor guidance for,
Yeah.
like you said, real estate agents who aren't heavily educated in contracts and law and what
Yep.
they're opening themselves up to.
Exactly.
And I think also there's an opportunity for like how agents get paid to change dramatically, because right now they're all being paid from the sellers.
Yeah.
And so that's weird, right? As a buyer, there's this person that's going to get paid a lot of money to represent your interests, but really they only get paid from the seller,
Right.
and when it closes.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
always going to be like, I mean, you can negotiate the prices, but generally speaking, it's going to be like 2.5%.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what are these agents doing? What are they responsible for? So,
Yep.
there's a lot of opportunity for there to be some changes and more flexibility on how agents are paid, how much
Yeah.
they're paid.
Yeah.
I
agree.
And maybe you have a new level of like, you're an agent and you're a lawyer, and
Nice.
and that's more of what the public hires. That
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah.
Hire a lawyer.
A fixed rate.
The answer.
Hire a lawyer. Okay, so buying the property, it's already very intimidating and scary. What's your advice for a new property or for a new buyer?
Mm-hmm.
What do they have to be careful? Well, I guess no. You know what? We already kind of touched on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just one other point I would make is it's a very scary process.
Yeah.
Right. Read everything. Right. Read blogs on buying your first home.
Mm-hmm.
There's guides on buying your first home. Read it all. And if you're still not comfortable in reading that information and understanding it, hire a lawyer.
Hire a lawyer.
But I mean, I have families that are like family relatives that are like, yeah, I read everything. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, that's good, you should.
Yep.
It's important.
Take your time.
Yeah.
And don't let that agent rush you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're gonna push you to
it's
sign.
All e-sign now. That's
Yep.
a problem.
That's
Read
a whole
it.
new thing too.
Read it. Go on your computer.
Back in the day, an agent they came to your house.
Yeah.
They came with their contract.
Mm-hmm.
They went over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now they send it to you and say, let me know if you have any questions.
And they just expect you
like,
to e-sign
You're
and move
asking
on.
Uncle, Tio to come, look, does this make sense? And he's like, yeah, it looks good to me. And you're like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one more question. This is a great.
Yeah,
I know we got stuff to do. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, yeah, I mean, resolving client cases, right, and knowing that, I mean, the best kind of case is where you kind of know that this is what you specialize in. There aren't that many lawyers that would take this kind of a case for whatever reason, or that are this specialized in partitions or foreclosures or quiet titles. And so to be able to resolve those cases in an efficient manner, somewhat quickly, nothing in law is quick, but some relatively quickly.
Yep.
And then have them be able to move on, right? And then to hear them tell you, like, I met with a bunch of other lawyers, or I had hired another lawyer before you, and I thank God that I was able to find you and your firm.
Yeah.
You guys are exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Hearing that is like worth everything, right?
I have so far have seen clients walk out of here so grateful, they're in tears. I've had even me just supporting attorneys just because I just like hanging out. I got hugged.
That's your job.
I got
just
hugged
to hang
by
out.
a client. Yeah. Our attorneys get hugs. You know what I mean? And people are thanking God for us. You know what I mean? Because we literally saved them from an absolute crisis that was happening in their life.
Yeah.
So yeah. I want to add. Can I add this to the video?
Yeah.
I want to add like the ending, like to contact us, contact us.
Yeah.
I guess face the screen. Yeah. Contact us if you have questions. If you found this video to be very helpful, we can talk more with you one on one. We can do a consultation. So just reach out to us. We'd love to help and give you more guidance.
Perfect. Hey.